For the Big Dipper. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, Cavs, Phillies, Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Hey, Chet, hopefully we have you loud and clear here. We've been having some technical issues.
Do you have me?
I do have you. Hey, the Phillies have finally warmed up so much that they canceled the game because they're on fire. The Flyers made their first trade under new GM Danny Briere. New Sixers head coach Nick Nurse held his first presser. And you and I attended the latest Tommy and Me this weekend in Bucks County. As always, there is plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
Yeah, Bill, I don't know if you can hear me, but we are frozen on screen, and I have never seen anything quite like this. We do have a great guest tonight and lots to talk about. So let's see if you can add Mike to the screen and see if we can get this thing going.
All right, let's do it. We do have a great guest making his first visit to Philly Pressbox Radio, a Philly radio legend, host of his own weekly podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, Mike Missanelli. Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Bill and Jim, thank you so much for asking me. It's a pleasure. That was a great montage, by the way, coming onto the show.
Thank you.
That's good work for you guys.
Mike, I've been listening to you since you began your radio career 30 years ago or whatever. You're loved by a lot of people. Loved or not loved by a few people maybe, but always enjoyed listening to you over the years. So great to have you on. We're going to start with a little Phillies baseball, if we may. The season hasn't gone quite the way we would have hoped, but they're on a bit of a roll lately. 4 straight wins, still 100 games to play. Some of the key guys, Schwarber and Turner, seem to be turning things around finally. So what is your assessment of the Phillies here on June 7th?
Well, I was thinking about this last week, and I really hadn't been worried by their slow start. They did the same thing last year. I know it's a lineup that I think will produce offensively. But they started to get that look like maybe this is one of those years this is not going to work out. And that was only because of the starting pitching and the defense, which has been terrible for them. So I think it's encouraging that they're starting to hit again, especially Trey Turner has come alive lately, and Schwarber, June is supposed to be his month, and he better hit home runs because he's hitting about $180. But their starting rotation, the back end of it has really wobbled, and that's caused them to use their bullpen a lot. It's a good bullpen, but overusing a bullpen really can hurt you in the end. So Taijuan Walker had a great start yesterday. Ranger Suarez's last start was pretty good. The 5th spot is going to remain problematic. I mean, at this point, I don't know what they can do. I know people are urging Dombrowski to do something, but you're after a 5th starter. You're getting a guy who's probably an unreliable guy. Like, they reached out for Dylan Covey, and you see what he's got. The pickings are slim when you talk about pitching and who you can acquire to really solidify that staff.
Mike, do you think it's too early to say what a big difference Rhys Hoskins not being here has made, or is it just it's early yet?
Listen, I guess because they claim he's really important leadership-wise, but I have to look at baseball, and I played it my whole life. Is that you have to get in that batter's box, and Rhys Hoskins isn't going to help swing and make contact with the pitcher. So it's all about approach. And the thing about Turner that was weird is he kind of lost his approach. He's swinging a lot of bad pitches, and he's a pretty fundamental hitter, and he just lost it there for a time being. So hopefully with him back, they have enough offense to get this through. They've had a couple nagging injuries. They've had to play Sosa a little too much. They got a little lift from Drew Ellis. They got a little lift from Clemens, but those guys aren't going to carry you through a whole season. So those big guys really have to produce.
Mike, we may get back to the Phils in a little bit, but I want to ask you about the Sixers. I heard you last week. You do like the Nick Nurse hiring. What's he going to bring to the team? Whether or not James Harden is there, we don't know.
It's funny though, Jim. I like all the changes that they make when they make a coaching change. Right? It's a better because I liked it when Brett Brown was a fresh approach and Doc Rivers was the veteran approach, and now it's Nick Nurse who's got a track record, and I think he's going to make a difference because I think he's a better adjuster than Doc, and I think he knows his personnel a little better, and he's not inflexible to it. Like he'll survey and figure out how to bring out the best in that personnel he's got. Now Toronto, he had a bunch of long, lean, athletic players, and so he was a pretty good defensive coach that way. With Embiid, I don't know how he's going to use him. It's going to be really interesting because he had Siakam guard the perimeter a lot, and with Embiid, he's going to have to coach a different way. And this is the first time I think he's really had a low post center, whether he wants to play him in the low post, because nobody plays their center in the low post anymore. In fact, there aren't any centers left in the game. So it's going to be interesting how he adjusts to that whole thing. And the other key thing is Harden. I mean, after what I saw in the playoffs, I don't mind that they carry on without him, because I think he's a guy who's on dying batteries. Now, you can say that and go, okay, well, who do you replace him with? And I don't have an answer for that. I wish I did have all the answers. The only thing I could think of that would be comparable is if you can make a deal for Damian Lillard, who's kind of, I think, ready to go. And the only way they'd be able to do that is if Portland would accept a contract like Tobias Harris's. So I don't know what they're going to do. For what I'm reading, he's torn. His decision is his comfort in Houston versus leaving Embiid. I don't know what he's thinking. So it'll be tough without him because he gives you production. But the other side of that coin is that, Maxey, if given the ball in Harden's spot, maybe he could turn into a pretty spectacular player.
Mike, if you're sitting in the GM seat right now, do you blow this thing up if you're able and get replacements for him? Do they have enough pieces to win with what they have? I guess is the real question. And enough.
Yeah, I don't blow it up, because blowing it up means you blow up Embiid, and they just can't do that. I mean, I know a lot of people think they can, but when you have a player like Embiid, you got to just work. He's your staple. He's going to make you a contender every year. So as a GM, there's no sense of blowing it up. What you have to do is try it again. You have to try to put better pieces around them that would make it work and exhaust the Embiid thing. I mean, you got 4 years probably to exhaust that thing. So hopefully they can figure out something, but you can't blow it up. I mean, Tobias Harris's contract is going to be off the books after this year, so that'll give him a little flexibility. Embiid's going to be the staple. He's going to be here. He should be here. You just got to figure out how to put a better team around him.
Hey, Mike, you and I are both Penn State alums, and you happen to write a book.
Yes.
The Perfect Season. I bought
it. Thank you.
You signed it.
You got the fan T-shirt on. You got my book out there. I love it, Jim. Thank you.
We're celebrating Mike Missanelli tonight. Anyway, this book I know is 14 years old, and it's about something that happened in the mid-1980s, but it is a great read. The Perfect Season, How Penn State Came to Stop a Hurricane and Win a National Football Championship. I'm sure you've been asked this many times, or maybe you've pondered it yourself many times. Which undefeated Lions team was better, that 86 team or the 94 team that didn't even get the chance to play for a national title?
The 94 team offensively was the best Penn State team ever, because usually they don't have that kind of a dominant offense. But the 86 defense was so spectacular. I mean, think about what they pulled off to beat Miami. And I know I hate to mention his name, but the defensive coordinator was Sandusky, and he had a brilliant plan against Miami. And they had guys that with a lot of heart, like the linebackers, like Trey Bauer and Shane Conlon, and guys like that up front. And their secondary was an overachieving secondary. And in that season was pretty amazing the way they played defense. So I don't know, depending on what flavor you like best, right? If you're a defensive guy, you go 86, and I'm sure changing the 83 team, because they beat a pretty good Georgia team to win the national championship. But I would think that 94 was the team that was just dynamic. with Kajana Carter and the tight end and the receivers and the quarterback was pretty good that year. Kerry Collins was a pretty good quarterback. Yeah. So and they got robbed. So
yep, that's right. So current day Penn State football, they've been pretty good. They haven't been over the top good. What's it take to beat Ohio State regular? What's it take to beat Michigan regular and not be 10-2, 11-2 every year?
I don't know. I mean, I'm so frustrated by it. Listen, I'm pretty optimistic about this year because they do have some really good skill players, and so we'll see how that works out. But people say, I go like night and day on James Franklin, and people always say to me, "Well, he's a great recruiter," and I always answer them with, "Well, he's not as great a recruiter as Ohio State. He's just not," and that's the standard. You have to out recruit Ohio State. If you look at Ohio State, I mean, they're producing 7 NFL players a year out of that program. So you've got to do better than them. I think they've made some strides. I know their recruiting classes rank pretty high. Maybe this is the start of a regular recruiting superiority over Ohio State. But it's tough to beat them. I mean, they get the cream of the crop. They get NFL quality recruits in that program. And so does Michigan, frankly.
Mike, let's sneak in an Eagles question. They've had a pretty good offseason. I think everybody gave their draft an A or A+, A- at the worst. Are they the best team in the NFC? Are they, pretty?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they should be. I mean, the quarterback convinced me last year that I shortchanged them. With the skill position players that they have, the running back situation still a little iffy, but they seem to cobble it together pretty good. They kept the cornerbacks, which I was surprised to see. I thought they would lose at least one, and I was surprised they went with Bradbury first, and I think that made Slay cave a little bit. So when you look at it, linebacker is always a concern. I don't know how Nakobe Dean is going to play. It's really our first look at him, and the safety situation is a little precarious. But other than that, they're pretty solid. If you compare them to the other teams in the NFC, I mean, the 49ers are going to be solid. Dallas, I think that the Eagles have surpassed Dallas, so I'm not really worried about Dallas. They should be a very viable team. Vegas, I looked at the over/under number in Vegas. I think it was 10.5, and I thought that was a little low to evaluate this team. It's almost like begging you to go over, and in Vegas, that's always a trap. So. I hope they win 11 plus to get quality seeding in the playoffs.
Hey, Mike, the Eagles are up 10 points at halftime in the Super Bowl with probably the best team we've ever seen the Eagles put on the field. They don't win that game. How big of a loss was that in the history of Philly and the teams, evaluating the teams and going back to teams that did not win championships? To me, it's number one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I looked at it like I wasn't that devastated when they lost to the Patriots with McNabb. I thought the Patriots were better. And I really wasn't that devastated that losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I don't know why. I go back to 2002. That was the year that devastated me most. I thought that year, losing at home to Tampa Bay is to me the worst loss in Eagle history. And it was the last day at the vet, and it was so perfect for them to win that game, and they just didn't win it, and that lingers. Those kind of things. Like, if you go back at the losses that linger, like for me, I was younger, but the 77 when the Sixers lost to the Portland Trailblazers, they had a 2-0 lead. Yeah. I still think about that all the time. And I think about that 2002 because I was booked on a flight to San Diego, and I was working with Anthony Gargano at the time. We had a flight the next day, for the Super Bowl, and we were all excited, and it was just snatched away from us. So, it was that bastard John Gruden, too, of all people.
Hey, Mike, before we let you tell us about your weekly podcast and the video blogs that you're doing, let's sneak in a little game of Fast Five, something we do with first-time guests. So shorter answers, and let's see how it goes, all right?
Okay.
Number one, Mike, your chats with Charles Barkley are always terrific. What makes Sir Charles such a great interview?
He's just he has freedom of the mind and soul. That's the way I kind of describe it. Like he'll have an opinion on anything, and it's always a gregarious opinion. And he's the best guy to interview because you just throw him something, and he'll go off on a tangent, and then out pops a great story. He's just one of those unique guys who's so gregarious that he's impossible to dislike, whether he's saying something that's ridiculous or not. He says a lot of ridiculous things on that show. I go, oh, Charles, you're so full of crap. It's like, but he believes it, and he'll just, he's fearless in throwing it out there, which is what I love about him. I've been out with him socially, and he's like, people gravitate to the guy. I've never seen anything like it. We go into a bar, the first thing he'll do is buy the whole house of drink, and he doesn't mind talking to people. He's interested in their lives. He's just a one in a lifetime type of personality. He really is.
Number two, other than Charles, give me 2 or 3 names, some of your favorite people to talk to, interview. That's a tough one. There's been so many, like the lines are blurred. I just had a really Larry Brown was always a guy that I enjoyed talking to. On your podcast this week.
Yeah, he was on my podcast this week. He's so cerebral about the game, and even when he was coaching, I talked to him a lot about basketball and his philosophies on basketball, and he's just dedicated to the game. I just love Larry Brown. There are a lot of guys that I didn't like Jim Fregosi was a terrible guy for me to talk to. But Larry Brown was just the opposite, and that dynamic with Iverson it was like a gift for Sports Talk Radio. That whole dynamic. If you think about it, we went from Lindros to Iverson to McNabb, and in that that collection of years, which you could talk about him almost every single day.
Number 3, on a percentage basis, what's the likelihood the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl next season?
I think it's actually good. I know it's hard to get back, and so that's why I'm like hedging my bets here. But I think they have the personnel to get back there. So I would say yes to that.
When you were talking about some of your favorite guests, I thought you might say Nikki Glazer. I sensed a little connection with you and her, Mike.
Well, I got to know Nikki. I don't even know how. I was just fascinated by her bawdiness, and so I got in touch, and so I had her on the show a few times, and on the show I had to remind her that we have FCC regulations. I didn't have to do that in the podcast. In fact, if you've ever seen her act, I don't even know if I should go here, but she talks about her private parts a lot. So in the podcast, it said, "So how are your private parts?" That's the difference between a podcast and being live on the radio.
I got to check that one out. Here's a tough one, Mike. In 10 words or less, how would you sum up your daily WIP show with Howard Eskin that you did for 3 years back in the day?
1 word: miserable. I don't need 3 words. It was a miserable exercise every day. He just didn't know how to do a radio show with somebody else. He just didn't. You got to play into your partner. You got to, listen to what he has to say. You got to go back and forth with him. He was so disengaged in that kind of thing. It was really difficult to do a show with him, and we didn't really like each other. So the dynamic, I think, worked for a while, and then people realized that these guys really don't like each other. It's probably unpleasant to listen to. So,
I think you told Angelo you wanted to kill Howard every day.
Well, I did. I walked out of a show once because I was just so exasperated. He couldn't understand the simplest point I was trying to make that I just got up and left the studio. And I remember the program director wasn't happy with it. And I disappeared for a couple of days. Finally got in touch with me and he said, "That was very unprofessional for you to do that." And I said, "Well, you have to look at it on the bright side." He said, "What is that?" I said, "If I stayed, I would have killed him, and you would have had a homicide to deal with instead of me just walking out of the studio."
That's great.
Hey, Mike, I have a follow up to that. Not with Howard, but you and Angelo did a really tremendous interview at the end of your careers, I guess, together, we'll call it. I think a lot of people were wanting to listen to that, to see you guys try to cut each other's throat and beat each other up. And it was a tremendous show of respect on both your parts, I thought, and actually a fantastic interview.
Well, thank you. I see. I always had great respect for Angelo. We worked together at the Inquirer. He was a brilliant writer. He had a tremendous work ethic as a writer. He was the Eagles beat writer for a while, and he used to clash with Buddy Ryan all the time. And I kind of admired his gumption. So when he went to Sports Talk Radio, we were all shocked in the Inquirer because they poached kind of every one of us after that. When he went, we said, "Wow, because we were so protective of our Inquirer pedigree." That was the only thing that existed for us. And to go to Sports Talk Radio, we go, that's not even serious. But he made it listen, it is so difficult. And I did a morning show for a couple of years, so I know how difficult it is. It's so difficult to be on like he's on for that many years, getting up at 3:00, going to bed at 7. And he was just so diligent about it and so disciplined and planned out every little segment that, and he's writing an autobiography, so I'm going to be really interested in that. But I've always had great respect. The thing about WIP is that the program director was a guy who thought it would be better if we were at each other's throat and to create competition within the shows, and that would make us want to have a better show than them. And so he thought that was good. So we didn't really look at it like a social existence at all. We were like every man for himself over there. Yeah. And it worked. I got to say, he knew what he was doing. It worked. It harmed our social relationships as we were doing it. But afterwards, when we look back, we go, we know why it happened. And, we respect the hell out of each other for doing it that many years.
Mike, last thing in our Fast Five that wasn't really so fast. True or false? It's okay. True or false? You are something of a wine guy these days and have become a part owner of a winery.
Yeah, I've always been interested. It's Natali Vineyards. I just had a hat made. See, there's the hat with our logo on it. I've always been interested in wineries. I've visited a lot of wineries down the East Coast in Virginia and North Carolina and Napa. I just love the lifestyle. So I was looking to buy one, and not that I'm overly capitalized here, but I got this winery I was looking at. I just couldn't pull it off. Another gentleman bought it, and I just emailed him out of the blue, and I said, "Listen, if you're looking to take on a partner, I love the business. I would love to be involved with it." So that's how we got together. He didn't know me. He knew of me. So he was gung-ho for it. And so it's been a really fun experience. And we're producing some good wines. We have a winemaker. It's funny, vintners are so dedicated to their job. This guy, he lives in I think, Bethlehem area, but he'll commute to Cape May Courthouse and sleep overnight there just to make sure everything's good. He gets his hands in the soil. And we just bought a bigger farm to plant more grapes to sustain it. But thank you for asking about it. I'm having fun with it.
Cool.
All right. Hey, Mike, before we let you go, because we've used up all your time, let the viewers know where they can follow you, all your social media stuff, all your podcasts. You got 100 things going on.
Yeah, you can email me at mike@mikemiss.com if you want to get me an email. I'm on Twitter all the time. MikeMiss25 is my Twitter. That was in honor of Ben Simmons. And people have urged me to change it. And I also have a children's book out. This is my children's book here. I have a crazy dog. She's a Shiba Inu, and I look at her and I say, she has a human brain, and I can tell that she's thinking of stuff. So I wrote a book with my head inside her head, and she's narrating the book to kids. And it's just a story about growing up and misbehaving and doing right things and separating good from bad. So I'm doing that. I got the winery going. I got the podcast going. And my website is mikemiss.com, and I do a video blog every Friday. So, I can't sit still. I'm like semi-retired, but I have a million irons in the fire. That's the way I have to go through life.
And you can probably find the perfect season still somewhere, Amazon, but you're not going to get this shirt.
Jim, here's the thing. I wrote that. One of the reasons I wrote that book is because I thought it would have a really long shelf life, being the last national championship. I got to be honest with you. They probably won't win another national championship. This could be like a lifetime book for people. Yeah. So, I hope it's not, by the way, but I had a good time writing that book. It was fun to write a book. You do a lot of research, and I had the time to do it at the time. So thank you for bringing that up.
Where do you get that children's book, Mike? Where's that for sale?
Anyway, Amazon.com. You get Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It's available at all. Your book outlets, and the podcast is available on any podcast network, Apple, iTunes, Amazon and Google. Just put my name in, Google my name, Mike Missanelli Podcast, and it'll pop up, and you subscribe, and it's sent right to your inbox.
Fantastic.
Great stuff.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you joining us. Sorry for the little delay with our technical issues, but thanks for hanging out with us.
Not a problem. There's no Phillies game tonight, so
Exactly.
I have nothing else to do. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you asking me. I had fun.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, guys.
All right, hey, Chet. Summer is here. Gas prices are going up. It's time to save some money with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, you got that right, Bill. You know what the deal is at Allstate. Pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, Pennsylvania, that is Dave Lavoie. And by the way, in addition to auto insurance, Dave's Allstate office also offers home and renters insurance, life insurance, business insurance, and more. Allstate in Westchester. Call Dave Lavoie at 610-430-0700. Again, 610-430-0700.
Hey, Chet, while you're out and about and you're saving money, what's going on over at the Irish Rover Station House as summer is now here?
Always plenty happening at the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, Bill. The Rover, as usual, has killer burger Thursdays, great dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, always 24 beers on tap. And remember to mark your calendar. It is fast approaching the Irish Rover's legendary Father's Day car show, just a week and a half away now. Sunday, June 18th in the Rover's massive parking lot. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. it happens on Father's Day with scores of classic cars, plus a 50-50, raffles, food and drink available. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. You can get more details on their website, irishroverstationhouse.com. Check it out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, everybody, it's Willie Nile here, and you're listening to Chet and Bill on Philly Pressbox Radio. You lucky people.
Hey, we'll get
Bill?
back to Willie.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, birthday today, right?
Yep. 75th,
We'll talk about Willie later.
Right? We will. Hey, we want to let the listeners know, Chet, we had some technical issues. I'm in Delaware, you're in New Jersey, and both of our internets went out at exactly the same time. So there must be a system problem somewhere. So we're about 8 minutes behind. So we're going to run over a little bit. We're going to get to everything we want to get to, but we will probably run till about 8:05, 8:08, something like that tonight.
Yeah, that was bizarre. You texted me that your internet just went out right at the same time that mine just crapped out. So it was weird. And it was like, of course, 2 minutes before showtime. So we were scrambling.
Always. Absolutely. Well, hey, and before we move on, having Mike on was really good. He was good. I enjoyed
Mike is great. I love Mike. I really do.
Wish we could have done it more.
Yeah. As I said, he's a guy that some people, really, really admired. You don't have a 30-year radio career without having fans, but a lot of people don't like him. Sometimes he says things that ticks people off. He sometimes would talk politics and stuff, which a lot of people didn't like, but he speaks his mind. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was fun to talk to.
He was.
Well, hey, Chet, the Flyers made the huge move yesterday, the first under Danny Briere, trading their best defenseman, Ivan Provorov, for a first round, 2 second-round draft picks, 3 players. I feel like there's going to be some more moves soon. Are you excited? I know hockey never hit you last year. Are you excited to see a new team in orange and black?
Well, so far so good with the new regime. I mean, Danny Briere, I think, pretty much said in his presser last evening that they are in a rebuild. A lot of GMs won't want to use that word, but yeah, it's a rebuild. They're willing to talk to just about everybody regarding players on the roster. Unlike some other GMs, as I said, he's not hesitant to call it a rebuilding. So yeah, we should fully expect more deals to be made. Perhaps even goalie Carter Hart, although I'm hoping that, a guy who's just 24 years old, he'll be 25 in August. I'm hoping he's a guy that they decide to keep and build around.
Well, I think we're going to have to see what Briere comes up with. Now, you're gambling on the future a little bit. They didn't get guys probably that are going to step in and help them now, or maybe at all. As far as the existing players, they did get a 21-year-old defenseman who just hasn't lived up to his potential right yet in Grans. but they did get a first-round draft pick, the 22nd overall. They got the second pick from LA in 24 and a conditional second-round pick from Columbus in 24. So they're trying to build the farm system back. If you can get a haul like that, I think that's a good trade, actually, for the Flyers.
I think it's a great trade. I really do. And I was listening to one of the radio stations yesterday. Jordan Hall, who covers the Flyers, was on there, and he suggested hanging on to, in addition to Hart, talented young guys like Owen Tippett, Cam York, and Tyson Forster, who played in just 8 games late in the season, had 3 goals and 4 assists. So a couple of young guys there to build around.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Hart. Cal Peterson is the goalie they got. I think everybody thinks because they got a goalie that Hart is on their way out. I don't know that means that.
No, I don't think so.
Peterson doesn't have what Hart has. He can't step in and be the starter. Whether Erson's their guy or what they try to do, somebody's going to move. But will it be Carter Hart? Maybe it'll be Erson.
Yeah, you can't have 3 or 4 goalies, for the full season. So somebody's going to go. I think do they still have Felix Sandstrom also?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So decisions to be made.
Right. And certainly they need to find goal scorers now. Call it a rebuild all you want, but over the last handful of years, they've lost a lot of goals and haven't replaced any of them. So Travis Konechny stepped up, had a good season, scored a lot of goals for him and a couple other guys, but they need guys that can score, and they haven't had that. And they need blue line. I mean, they pretty much need a lot of everything right now.
I got to watch, or did I just listen? I think I listened to the news conference that Briere had late yesterday afternoon. He sounded great. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. I heard he did a whole lot of research for the full-time GM job. Took some kind of classes and stuff. So he's really prepared, I think, and I hope it works out for him and Jonesy.
Yeah, I do too. I hope it works out for the Philadelphia sports fans, for one, because the Flyers fans have been loyal, dedicated fans forever, and they need a winner, and they'll support a winner. They supported decently not having a winner. All they want to do is win. Put a good product out there, and the fans are going to show up, and I'm excited about that for sure.
Yeah, so it's a big off season. Let's get it going.
That's right. All right. Hey, let's give a quick shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The Flyers trade news, the Phillies, the Nick Nurse presser, and a whole lot more. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel as well. Please help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons, and as always, share with your family and friends.
Yeah, we are building up our subscriber list, so let's keep it going. Keep it going, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Chet, wanted to hit on Friday night at Citizens Bank Park. Well, assuming we keep on playing here, tonight's game canceled to tomorrow. We'll see if they get that in with this smoke situation. Friday night, the Dodgers come to town. It's Dick Allen bobblehead night Friday night. I know you're going to be there, and there's a chance I might be there.
I love the bobbleheads, and Dick Allen was one of my favorites. I think probably my very first favorite Philly when I started watching baseball in the mid-'60s, around 66, I guess. And, of course, Allen was there hitting long home runs. So I'm definitely getting that bobblehead. And I will be there with a bunch of friends. We're meeting up in parking lot M a little before 5 o'clock. So if you're around, Bill, join us. Parking lot M. I'll be there, probably with a beer in my hand.
6:40 start, right?
Yes, I believe so. Or is it a little later on Fridays? It might be 7:05 on Friday.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. And I will certainly let you know if I'm able to be there.
Yeah, the Phillies are, as we said with Mike, are on a little bit of a roll now. They've won 4 straight. Some people were complaining that they won only 1-0 last night. Hey, you scored 1 run. The other team didn't score any. You got the W. That's what it's all about. You got an encouraging pitching performance from Ranger Suarez following the one by Nola the night before. So, you got these starting pitchers back into the groove, then things are going to look a whole lot better for the Phillies all of a sudden.
Walker.
Taijuan Walker, yes. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Nola,
but Suarez was good too.
Suarez, all three. Yeah. All three had nice outings. And how about Aaron Nola flirting with a no-hitter and then gives up a second level bomb to Nicky Maton.
Nick Maton going yard. Yeah. That's the third time Nola's gone 6 2/3 innings and then loses the no-hitter. So one of these days.
You know, as we always say, all the games count. It doesn't matter if maybe the Tigers aren't quite as good as some other teams. You got to win the games, and they did. Hey, one other thing, Chet, you and I were talking some about this Thursday night, tomorrow. The Phillies were supposed to be having a big autograph signing up at one of the casinos in town, with about 8 or 9 of them showing up there. The release came out from the people doing that event that there'll be an update at 2:00 tomorrow. So they haven't canceled it yet. Maybe they're hoping the game will be canceled again and the show will go on. But as of right now, a whole bunch of people have tickets to get autographs by pretty much a good portion of the starting lineup, minus Harper, for that event tomorrow night in town. And there's a good chance it may not go.
And the other thing tomorrow night, Glenn Macnow is hosting the official release party for the Fransky NLA Bedlam at the bank, the beer release. That is at the Conshohocken Puddler's Kitchen and Tap Brewery. So Fransky, if there is a game, will not be there, but LA will, because he's not supposed to be broadcasting this week anyway. So that will go on with Glenn Macnow and Larry Anderson and a bunch of other great guests like Bernie Perrant, Mike Sealski. So that's from 6 to 9 tomorrow night in Bridgeport.
All right. Good deal. Hey, Chet, while we're at it, tell us what's going on with Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly tailgates.
Well, Bill, I will tell you that. Bob Cavanaugh at Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific business, a catering business, more than 30 years now. He's known best for the tailgate parties that they put on, but Cavs is a 3-time winner of the Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award, even been featured on the Food Network. The next big event happens to be this weekend. It is June 10th. Before that, Phil's-Dodgers game on Saturday. I think that's a 4:00 start for the game. But before that, big party, and just look at this. Check out the menu that they will have this Saturday. A lot of great foods. Cavs, by the way, also does corporate events, graduation parties, you name it. Cavs Phillies Tailgates is the way to go. To get more info, email them at cavscatering@verizon.net or check the website, phillytailgates.com. And Cav does the catering for Philly sports trips, and Vince and company there have things all set for all of the Eagles games this year. There will be home tailgates. There will be tailgates for all the road games as well. They'll trips, in fact, through Philly sports trips. And there's a few more baseball trips along the way, too, including to San Diego and Pittsburgh the second half of the season. They're finalizing all the details now for those fall football games to, I guess, 7 or 8 different cities that the Eagles will be going to this year, 9 cities in all. So get all the details for that at phillysportstrips.com.
All right. Looking forward to it. Hey, great guest tonight in Mike Missanelli. Chet, who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio next week?
Well, Bill, with the Flyers' moves yesterday and the likelihood of more to come, plus a special new project that he is working on, I thought it would be a great time to get this guy back on the show. He's no longer with the Inquirer. Don't go by that. But it is Sam Carchidi. He's announced about a month and a half ago that he's working on a TV series about the 1970s Flyers called Bullies. So we can't wait to get all the deets on that. We may or may not have a second guest. I'm not sure. That is yet to be determined. But we will definitely have Sam on with us live next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And hopefully no technical snafus next week.
Yeah, right. Hey, Chet, you and I had a chance to see the newest production of Tommy and Me on Sunday at the Bucks County Playhouse, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah, it was really, really good. It was great meeting up with you, by the way. We had a little beverage or two before the show. The only disappointing thing for me was that the great Ray Didinger wasn't at this performance, so we didn't get to say hello to him. But as for the play, yeah, my 5th time seeing it, your second. Though the first for both of us with a new director and a completely new cast, and they did a great job, the cast and the director. So you saw it in Wilmington previously, one of the play's locations I didn't get to, but I thought it was really good. How did it compare for you?
It was excellent. I don't know that I would say one was better than the other. I thought the young kid in this one, the young Tommy, was really funny and really good. But I thought everybody was good, and they were good in the first one too.
I think you mean Young Ray, right?
What did I say? Right, yeah, young Ray. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, I thought both of them were excellent, and it was as good the second time as it was the first time. And for anybody that thinks it's a football show and you need to be a football fan to go, it's not. My wife went first time with me, and she enjoyed the heck out of it. And I heard a lot of people talking about it that, coming out of the building the other day, just how good this was, and that you didn't have to be a football fan to enjoy the story.
Yeah, just really a joy to watch. As you can see the picture on the screen, when they were looking at all the busts, at Canton, you get a little emotional seeing that kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I got to admit, at very first glance, when we met Ray, the 1998-ish version of Ray, that's him on the left, I thought I kind of missed the other guy from the previous performances, because this guy was just taller and didn't remind me as much of Ray. But man, what a good actor. So give him some credit. Carl Kensler is the guy who played Ray. And you know that I love Gordon Clapp from his days on NYPD Blue, one of my favorite shows. So they both did a great job. And if you haven't seen it, get there. Gordon Clapp will be in it for the next few performances, but he won't be there for the final 3 performances in the latter part of the run, like the 15, 16, 17. I think he's got another commitment. So his understudy will play. So try to get there as soon as possible. And not a bad seat at this place, the Playhouse, the Bucks County Playhouse in beautiful New Hope. And you told me, but that was your first time to New Hope. I'm shocked.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I haven't really kind of lived here for 40 years. So, true. The family has lived here, but I haven't necessarily lived here for a long, long time. So, just never trekked up to New Hope. And it was a trek, that's for sure, from where I was, but it was worth it. And I will tell people, if they're going to go early and find a place to park, because parking is a premium. I drove around a little while and couldn't find a spot, just pulled in and did the valet and said, the heck with it. It is what it is. And that worked out fine.
Yeah. If you want to park at the Playhouse, it's a $30 fee and you got to use the valet. I'm cheap, so I found a spot on the street and used the mobile parking app, Park Mobile, I think it's called. And I paid $8.40, Bill.
Yeah. Well, you were there a couple hours earlier than I was too. So we got to go with that.
See Tommy and me.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. Hey, Chet, wanted to throw out today the class of 2023 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class was named. You and I, for the first time this year, had a chance to vote as part of the media for that. And that was a lot of fun, and we certainly appreciate that honor. So the announcement is made. They've added another 20 to the class of 2023.
They have indeed. And if I can find it, I can pull up that graphic. Now that's going to be a challenge, but let's see if I can do it. Click on that. And here it comes, Bill. These are the new members to be inducted this November in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Some of the names you won't know, the kind of, older folks in, the less popular sports, but you will know Bernard Hopkins. We all know Bill Giles. I hope Bill's okay these days. He's 88 now, I believe. Carlos Ruiz from those 2008 Phillies. Irving Fryer, who played a few years with the Eagles. The legendary Jay Wright, plus Jeremiah Trotter, and one of the original Philadelphia Flyers, Joe Watson. And Bill, Willie Puddinhead Jones is also going into the Philly Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and there's a couple other ones that you might know. They're siblings. Carol Lewis in track and field is the sister of the great Carl Lewis from over in Jersey. And Valerie Still is the sister of that Art Still that played in the National Football League for a long time. So there's a lot of families going into the Hall of Fame as well in the class of 2023.
The last name on that list, Willie Jones, who they mentioned still today, all these years later, good old Puddinhead, one of Frank Fitzpatrick's favorite players, by the way. He hit 6 Grand Slam home runs as a Philly, which I think has him third on the list behind only Mike Schmidt and Ryan Howard. So that's pretty good company right there for Puddinhead.
Yeah, I'm not sure Pudd'nhead is not more famous here 60 years later for being Pudd'nhead than he is for being Willie Jones. But I guess as you go down the list of guys that, you're getting down the list of the whiz kids and the 1980s and so forth, that you start adding other guys. And finally, 63 years later, Willie.
Or 73, Jones, I think.
73. 50. Yeah, I'm thinking 60. 50. 73 years. Pudd'nhead gets his name in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, well, again, there's the list. So congratulations in advance to all these guys. And we'll definitely get Joe Watson on the show again, because we had him on before, and he said he'll gladly come back. So good for Joe Watson. Great guy, just a terrific guy. And boy, everybody loves Jay Wright. So it'll be good to see Jay again. Yeah, and I'm looking at my note right here. Thursday, November 2nd, at the Event Center Live Casino and Hotel in South Philly. I was there last year, and they always try to do it on the first Thursday in November. And last year, who knew that the Phillies would be playing a postseason game that same night? So a lot of people, they moved up the start time, tried to speed it up a little bit, and a lot of people wanted to get out and watch the Phillies game that night. That's right. Okay, before we get to the Raz Room, Chet, I wanted to you played a little Willie Nile there. And yes. I know you're getting ready to go see Willie in Asbury Park. What is it this weekend? Yeah, this Saturday night. Today is actually Willie Nile's birthday. He is 75 today. I reached out to him and congratulated him, wished him happy birthday, told him I'll see him Saturday night. And he said he's glad that I can make it, because I think this will be my 25th or 26th time seeing him over the last 17 years. I think the first time was 2006. So he's one of my favorites, and he's still rocking at age 75. One of those guys who, should be a whole lot more famous than he is. But let me tell you, if you go to see Willie Nile, you will not be disappointed. And they just announced this afternoon that the show is officially sold out. It's at the Wonder Bar in Asbury Park. If you look online for tickets now, you're getting secondary market tickets, so you'll pay more than the face value by quite a lot. There you go. What else you have? Well, Bill, how about the Stanley Cup Finals? The Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. Knights up 2-0, if I'm not mistaken. But I think they have more incentive, because I know where you're going with this. One of the clubs out there promised them free lap dances for life if they win the cup. Yeah, I wonder if you just have to carry a card in. I wonder how that works. Like when you're 60 years old like us, Chet, you think you just walk in with your card and say, "Hey," and when I was 22, yeah. I guess they give them some kind of official card or whatever that you can't easily duplicate. But it's Larry Flint's Hustler Club that's doing this promotion. So a little extra incentive for the Golden Knights out there. How about it? Hard to believe, Harry. NBA Finals, Heat and Nuggets now 1-1. They now move to Miami tonight. So I don't know. Everybody thought it would be an easy 5-game win for the Nuggets, but Miami may have something more to say about that. Well, I don't see why you can count anybody out at this stage, and especially the way the Heat bounced back in Game 2 after looking like they were going to take a beating. Heat playing a little better team ball, I think. Joker is unstoppable. He's going to get his. He's going to get his, but do they have enough around him? Boston passing the ball well, setting each other up for shots, playing good team basketball. Not Boston, Miami. Yeah, and that's they got a chance. Yeah, I think they're going to split Miami, make it 2-2, and then anything can happen after that. Another thing, Bill, we don't talk golf much, but the PGA and Live Golf, the Saudi-backed upstart, have decided to merge. A lot of people are not happy about this, but how about the guys who decided to go to Live and got paid like $15, $20, $25 million, and now these two organizations are joining forces, and all the other guys are saying, you guys got all this money and now we're back in the same boat together. So clearly this Saudi group has a whole lot of money to throw around, but people aren't really happy about this. They say, the PGA just kind of caved
and took the money.
Yeah, I'm not all the way up on this. I've been reading up on it, and I knew what happened when they did the split. Tiger Woods turned down almost $1 billion
Yeah.
at the time. You ain't getting that back, Tiger. Sorry. But for all the reasons that the PGA gave for the LIV being bad, 9/11. I mean, they included all kinds of stuff in there. And now you turned right around and you bought into it. And apparently the players in the PGA that did stick it out, Rory McIlroy and some others, really unhappy with how this whole thing went down. It's it's chase the dollars, follow the money, and you're going to find it, I guess. And I guess it's a business decision, and we'll find out. Personally, I'm not excited about a foreign country basically owning our sports league, and that's really what we have now.
Yeah, it is all about the money, and I think there's going to be a lot of contentious relationships with some of the golfers, some of the guys who did defect, and now they're all back in the same combined organization. So going to be interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, all me and you want to see is good golf, or if golf fans want to see good golf. I don't know that they really care who's paying them in general. I think probably in today's world now that everybody kind of seems to have an opinion about everything, maybe they care more. But if we were talking about this 5 years ago, we wouldn't care who was paying them. Just show me golf on Sunday, and that's what I'm going to watch. Yeah. What else, Bill? Anything else we need to address? I don't think so. I had something else on my list that I can't. I'm scrambled here. I'm up in an attic in Delaware, so I don't have. I know that we lost the Iron Sheik, the great wrestler, died today. He's no longer with us. And Prince would have been 65 today, Bill. I was a big fan of Prince. Got to see him one time, put on a great show. Another guy who left us way too early. Absolutely. All right, let's wrap this thing up if you're ready to go. I am hungry, so yeah, let's wrap it up. All right, let's thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page, so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia for all the Philly teams and more. Check out the Facebook page, like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right, PPCC 118 Raz Room on Facebook. That it?